Welcome back to this Headlines Today special broadcast. Huge amount of reaction to the data that we're putting out right now on Headlines Today. That's because this shatters and breaks some of the myths that have just started to dominate public perception. That's what we're trying to do. Use empirical evidence to put the facts out, reflect voter trends as they are, not as pundits would like them to be, given their own prejudices. I now want to look at how media exposure impacted voting preferences. Very, very interesting points emerging from this as well. Does it make a difference? Because remember, Amit Shah was very unhappy with media coverage, saying that everyone seems bent on winning the elections for the BJP. The media said we're just doing our job, reflecting reality as it exists. What are the reflections? Amongst the people with a very high exposure to media, and that's the column right at the bottom, this one. 45% for the BJP, 42% for Aam Aadmi Party. The BJP leads over AAP by 3 percentage points, which means that there are a lot of people who've been telling you that Kiran Bedi's campaign has been a flop, that people run away each time they hear her, that BJP's negative campaign hasn't worked. Well, amongst people with the highest media penetration, media exposure, the BJP actually leads over the AAP by 3%. Amongst people with moderate media exposure, the Aam Aadmi Party is ahead by 7%. 43 for AAP, 36 for the BJP. It's actually ahead. This gap increases. Remember, here it is 7 as we go up to people with low media exposure. And it's also interesting because a trend emerges in every data set that we put out. Here amongst people with low media exposure, the gap is now 11%, from 35 to 46, an 11% gap. Remember, the gap's increased from a deficit to 7, now to 11. And as you come to people with very low or no media exposure, BJP strategists, look at this carefully. Low or no media exposure, 25 to 52, a 27-point gap between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. Therefore, pundits like Javed and Vinod and anchors like me and pundits like yourself can't get excited. It's not your word that swings these elections. Amongst the people with no exposure, the AAP was way ahead, and amongst people who are watching media, actually it's the BJP that's ahead. Manisha Prem.
So I think this data is very, very counterintuitive, and this does go home to tell us that it's not the media that shaped public opinion, but what has happened here is that amongst the people with low exposure to the media, what has really made an impact is one-to-one contact, the Jan Sabhas, the reaching out of volunteers directly.
The work on the ground.
Work on the ground, and I think that's where the bazi has been really taken by the Aam Aadmi Party. Let me also put a little caveat that even amongst people with low or no media exposure, remember Rahul, Delhi is a different city now. Almost every household has a mobile phone and almost everybody is at least on a WhatsApp. So when I was doing my own field work in the poorest parts of the city, as I told you.
There's a WhatsApp joke also now.
Yeah.
If someone asks somebody what's app. So the reply is the new party in power in Delhi.
Yes, so that's what it is. So if I would ask कि आपके यहाँ फला पार्टी की जनसभा कब है, they would not tell me instantly, but they would ask me आप WhatsApp पे हैं, and then send me the messages on WhatsApp. So in a sense, even amongst areas that are on low penetration, I think this whole spiraling of peer-to-peer information system, which is the WhatsApp system,
and Javed, that shows how they've gone over everyone's head. They've played a game that Modi showed during the Lok Sabha elections, and they've played it just so much better than the BJP, Javed.
Yes, that's where the Aam Aadmi Party's volunteer force has scored heavily over the Panna Pracharaks and all this, the cadre-based BJP. Every day they were out there knocking at your door. I live in a colony where there are a lot of people who've migrated from Pakistan and come here. And they've been predominantly inclined towards the BJP. Every year during the elections, the BJP workers would be out there and almost in your face. This time, before the elections, on 5 different occasions, we had Aam Aadmi Party workers visiting us, and surprisingly, not once did the BJP come.
Okay,
and that's why I was surprised when every time people said, oh, Mr. Modi and Amit Shah have cracked the whip and the Panna Pracharaks have hit the ground and there are 100,000 boots on the ground. Panna Pramukhs have hit the ground. And that there are 100,000 boots on the ground. But ultimately, it was the volunteer force with displayed.
Let me bring in Salman Source from the Congress Party, because while we look at the gap between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party, the gap between the AAP and the Congress is so wide that it's embarrassing to even talk about the Congress Party. Is this what Rahul Gandhi had in mind when he said in December 2013 that he would change the Congress in ways that we couldn't even imagine? Down now to 0 seats in a state that you ruled for 15 years. Just about a year and a half ago. Salman source?
Well, first, of course, Aam Aadmi Party has done a terrific job, and congratulations to them. All the best to them. Of course, this is not the showing that anyone would have expected, would have wanted. It's, I think, frankly, extremely disappointing. At the same time, I think there are lots of different political forces that are at play right now, where after the general election, I mean, things started with the Delhi election in 2013, but after the general election, when the Congress tally went down by so much to 44, I think then, I wasn't surprised that there was going to be a string of defeats. At the same time, getting zero in Delhi, to my mind,
will there be any action against Rahul Gandhi? If you were leading a cricket team or if you were running a professional private organization, you would have been sacked many times over for incompetence. So far, we've seen some people in private raise questions about him, but there has been no action. And one of the reasons why I believe action is important, because after the last debacle, he disbanded the entire Delhi unit. At the booth level, it was all dismantled, but despite having 14 months, nothing was done to rebuild that structure. Now, this is really the height of political incompetence, Salman. Should he not pay for this?
Look, I mean, Rahul, the party leadership, they will have to decide what exactly to do next. There is no doubt.
You're skirting my question, Salman.
Must
Should Rahul Gandhi take responsibility? When does the time come when, as leader of the team, and a team that is led into disaster after disaster, that's his track record, will there be a time when these questions are asked or not?
These kinds of questions are debated internally. They haven't debated since May. But the thing is, what I think people sometimes forget is that the Congress Party.
No, but you're saying you've debated these questions. That hasn't led to any change on the ground, Salman. Since December last year, you haven't had a party structure in Delhi. You've got a phone close to your mic. Can you just put the phone away? Our mic's catching some static. Just put the phone away. But explain to me, if the party doesn't have a structure on the ground for 14 months, Salman, what can be greater political ineptness than this?
No, listen to me. Rahul, first of all, the Congress Party, even after such a massive loss in the Lok Sabha election, still remained a pretty big party. It's like a big ship. If you have a big ship, to turn it around, it takes time. It takes time. No, it's not necessarily like the Titanic, because I firmly believe that the Congress Party, once we get a certain plan and we start chipping away, we work hard, we set up the kinds of committees that you're talking about.
You're a long time observer
getting
of
to
the
grassroots level.
Does the Congress at this time, to an observer like you, seem like the Titanic that is sinking? The Titanic hit one iceberg. Of course, this ship has hit many small icebergs.
I think it's in dire straits. There is no doubt about that. And given its electoral performance, one defeat after another, it is not seeming to be learning lessons. Because if I were to decide on behalf of the Congress, I would have by now activated my state unit in Punjab. I would have changed leadership there, because that is one state where they stand a good chance of winning. But they haven't done anything, actually precious little. There is factional strife there. There is huge distrust between various faction leaders. And people are leaving the party in the Punjab, where it is expected to do well. But now that the Aam Aadmi Party has scored such a major victory in Delhi, its next destination naturally should be Punjab, where it did so well in the 2014
and they
elections.
believe Punjab is fertile land for them. I want to go back to China and see on the data points that we just put out, because we saw from the BJP strong outbursts against the media, saying that the media seems to be skewed in favor of Kejriwal. Kejriwal, of course, thinks completely the opposite, but the BJP at very senior level said that the media wants Kejriwal somehow to be Chief Minister. The data actually shows that amongst people with high media exposure, the BJP is ahead. It's amongst those people with very low or no media exposure that the Aam Aadmi Party is 27 points ahead of you. That just shows that the Aam Aadmi Party ran a better campaign that percolated all the way down, whereas you guys were fighting this battle on TV, China.
I concede that Mr. Kejriwal was a drama master, his theatrics, his understanding of staying in the media, and it almost became a David versus
But
Goliath
China, you're calling him a
battle where
drama. You know, hasn't the
Which is the
BJP
name calling
suffered
him
enough
victim.
because, haven't you
No, no.
suffered enough because of these verbal antics? You called him a Naxali, you called him a, you called him all kinds of names. You called him a terrorist,
Once-
AK-49, monkey,
you don't give me
chore,
once-
thief. You already suffered
you
because of
don't
that. You're
give
down to
me-
3 seats, China. Some change in tact probably?
One second, please, Rahul, give somebody a chance to speak. I mean, I never expected you to be an anchor who would not let anyone have an opinion. If we as a political party needed to highlight certain issues, whether it was the way they got 50 lakhs through bogus companies up to the tune of 2 crores in one day at one time, is that not lies? Does that not amount to playing a high moral ground? And shouldn't we be in a position to bring it up if it is election time?
So do you concede that in hindsight that strategy boomerang? Because if you hadn't done that, I mean, there's nothing that you could have done which would have made things worse. If you hadn't attacked him personally, do you think, Manisha
No.
Prem, things would have been slightly better? That this
was not about
negative
attacking him
campaign backfired
This was not about attacking
disastrously?
him personally.
No, but you did.
This was about a political position that we were taking where we needed to highlight that, listen,
Okay,
people
let me
who
ask Manisha,
pretend to
do you
be
think the
holier than
strategy
thou
flopped?
are not always holier than thou.
No, all those points remain in the sense that Arvind also went to the ground and he had to tell the people that the fact that he left the government only 49 days after having taken power were things for which he asked for forgiveness. But in terms of a strategy of political competition, whether the BJP needed to target him directly, in hindsight, it does appear that Arvind Kejriwal was targeted personally, and all the epithets that went around, the Gotra thing, for example, Upadravi, Gotra, or having called him an urban Naxal, all of this have gone in his favor. Just the way at a prior point of time, the entire opposition in this country was pitched to calling a Mr. Narendra Modi names of all kinds, and they had worked to his advantage. It turned out later that the electorate was not liking any of this and voted, stamped to their feet voting for Mr. Narendra
Which
Modi.
at some
So
level
here you
reeks
called
of
all kinds of
hubris
names.
because
It works against
you've benefited
the BJP.
by people targeting you, and you go out and you make the
It's a
same
mistake.
mistake.
It's a
want to
mistake.
look at
One point which perhaps we are missing.
Yes.
Which is that the the poor and the lower middle class had never left Arvind Kejriwal. They were forever with him in Delhi, despite the quitter charge, despite the media having worked overtime to brand somebody a quitter after he had renunciated power. And he didn't renunciate. It was, renunciation
media
of power.
didn't brand him a quitter. That's the way he was perceived. Even now in his own estimation by the people of Delhi.
You see, the media impact is pretty visible in the impact that had on the prospects of AAP amongst the middle classes. The middle classes where the exposure
So
is
now
higher.
how do you explain the fact that he's at 40 and the BJP is at 41? If the media had perceived him, portrayed him negatively and that message had gone down.
I'm not saying, no.
He would have been decimated amongst the middle
moving
class.
picture has made him the leader again amongst the middle classes. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying this was an election of the moving picture to a large extent, because Delhi is a small state. The print and the electronic media and the social media, they all played a major role.
Okay.
I'm not trying to say that whether we caused the defeat or the victory of someone. But surely we added value.
If this is a moving picture, then picture bhi baki hai mere dost, because this picture has only just started.
What is
and
left
last
now?
time,
3 to the BJP and 0 to the Congress?
No,
What is
you've
left
got
of the
5
picture?
years of Kejriwal Sarkar in Delhi. You think this picture is over? Manisha, the fun and games have only just begun.
Of a government in power, not of the
Of
election.
Kejriwal in power.
done
What
and
kind of
dusted.
government he runs, we still need to see.
Yeah, but done and
And
dusted,
the
this
BJP
victory of
committed the
the
mistake of having the same aggressive campaign against AAP, the
Okay.
kind of campaign they were having against the Congress. It worked against the Congress. They were aggressive against the Congress. They were hitting the Congress left, right and center. People were loving it. But when it came to Mr. Kejriwal, and when you started hitting him, and at the level of the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister, it did not go down well with the people,
True,
especially the
because
middle classes.
Especially amongst the people who saw the Ab Ki Baar Modi Sarkar campaign and really rallied around Modi in May, to have got their communication strategy so horribly wrong is something the strategists, the Chanakyas and the BJP will have to ponder on at length. We're slipping into a break. When we come back, 2 more very interesting data points. One dealing with age and the other dealing with gender. Remember, the BJP thought that bringing Kiran Bedi in would swing women vote towards the party. Has that happened? We'll tell China NC and you the results of the CSDS post-poll survey. Thought this evening for Amit Shah, called the Shahenshah of the BJP in elections before this, considered the man with the Midas touch. His first electoral defeat coming on the day of his son's wedding. I've got Kamlesh Sutar joining us from Gujarat, right outside the location where this wedding is taking place. Kamlesh, give our viewers a sense of the preparations. Who all will be attending this wedding, and what's the general mood given that the BJP got just 3 seats in the Delhi elections?
Had the BJP's performance in Delhi been not so bad, the place behind me would have been bustling with celebrations. The YMCA club in Ahmedabad is the venue for Amit Shah's son Jay's marriage. In fact, sources say that it was a grand ceremony that was planned with band, baja and barat. In fact, those who have attended the engagement ceremony of Jay some months back say that the marriage ceremony compared to that was a low-key affair. In fact, the ceremony was planned big, but soon after the trends started coming in. The celebrations were toned down. Crackers and band that was placed for the marriage were asked to move in without any celebrations on the road. For the couple, the Delhi results did not come as a good news, as the celebrations had to be toned down, and for the newlywed, the Delhi results turned to be a damn squib. With camera person Sajid Alan, Kamlesh Sutar in Ahmedabad for Headlines Today.
You know, regardless of your political agenda or regardless of your political convictions, nobody would want somebody's only son's wedding to get spoiled in this fashion. And I guess that just hangs over the wedding.
No, one may have ideological differences, and one does have with him. But this is one occasion one waits forever in his life,
And for both Prime Minister Modi, Shaina,
and look at the
Amit
bridegroom and the bride, their state of mind, you see.
They've never had to suffer an electoral defeat before this. Since the Prime Minister went to Gujarat in 2002, every campaign he led that was masterminded or held together at the back end by Amit Shah. And then after becoming Prime Minister, he's literally been the man with the Midas touch.
I completely agree with that, and I've worked closely with him even with Maharashtra elections under extraordinary conditions. He performs brilliantly, and he is absolutely a hands-on
So what went so horribly wrong this time?
The kind of effort he has
How
put
did the man with the Midas touch lose that Midas touch?
Rahul, we're repeating the same. We're repeating the same point. If the electorate of Delhi has decided to give another party an opportunity and has decided that somebody fresh, somebody new is coming and give them a chance, it is their mandate, and we have to respect it.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Not to say that
when the voter makes up his mind, no amount of electoral strategizing can really help you cross the finish line. Let's now look at the male-female gender divide. Just give me a moment, China, because give me a moment. I'm coming back to you. Give me a moment. Male-female gender divide. Now, because people had imagined that if Kiran Bedi were brought in, women would swing around and support the Aam Aadmi Party. Has that happened? I'll start with men first. Amongst men, the Aam Aadmi Party has 46%, the BJP 36%, a 10% gap amongst the male voters of Delhi. Let's now switch to females, where you'd ordinarily imagine the BJP to be doing better because there's Kiran Bedi, she's a super cop, she's got a good image on women empowerment. Instead, the BJP is at 36, again, the Aam Aadmi Party at 44. The gap is lesser, China, but there's still a 8% gap between AAP and the BJP, which essentially means even amongst the core constituency of women voters, where you would have thought that Kiran Bedi would strike gold, she hasn't been able to deliver.
Yes, I concede that point, but the point is that Kiran Bedi has an excellent track record, 40 years administrative services, and experience coupled with her integrity. So we were hoping that that would clearly work.
You have a question
for whatever reason,
I want to say something on
the electorate of Delhi has decided that in this battle of David versus the Goliath, give David a chance, and that's what's happened.
Shaina, I'm Vinod. May I tell you a bit about Kiran? I've known her for 35 years. She's been a good friend of mine. I've seen her, watched her closely when she was a traffic cop in Delhi. May I say one thing? Kiran is not a teams player. Kiran doesn't have a way with words. And 40 years of administration, I will cite n number of instances where she quit her job midway through. So what I am saying is that the BJP chose the wrong phase for the simple reason that Kiran did not have it in her to attract any section of the voter. Because and she was perceived as a renegade to the cause by those who were attached to the anti-corruption movement of India against corruption. That she could.
No, but can she be the one who singled out for blame?
Vinodji.
No. She's just one factor.
Vinodji,
No.
I don't think it's fair.
I won't do that.
I need to take a break.
I don't think it's fair if our strategy went wrong to blame her alone.
Sure, I think
Please
that's-
understand
Nobody's
that
blaming her
yes,
alone.
we did fail for whatever reasons. And 1 minute, the fact is that the voter in Delhi clearly wanted to give up an opportunity, despite the fact that we tried to expose through our campaign the double standards, the double speak, the false lies, the entire stint of Delhi, Banaras, Delhi, give me another chance, all of that, the entire expose that was unraveled on television
that we put out in the
vis-a-vis
first
their
1 hour
funding.
reflects is if the urban poor get together as one constituency, going beyond region, going beyond community, going beyond caste, then even an army with 100 sharp warriors and generals cannot stop that idea of the urban poor getting together, an idea that can potentially redefine Indian politics in the years to come. We of course have a lot more to talk about in the next 1 hour of this broadcast. Several other very interesting things to look at from the CSDS poll, and most importantly on the issue of whether the Prime Minister and his popularity has crashed. Do people believe that Modi is not doing a good job? Do they think that he is to blame for the Delhi defeat of the Bharatiya Janata Party? We'll get you actual solid empirical evidence, not just punditry but actual post-poll data when we come back on the other side of a very quick break.